So I want to, there's a couple things that I want to say, and just, grateful for the time that we've spent together here. But it's important, and what I was discussing was biochemical individuality. One person's medicine is another person's poison. And it's just profoundly important that you listen to your mind, body, and soul. And that goes the same from the type of music we listen to, the type of products that we put in our body, the type of products that we put on our body, what we clean our homes with, what we clean the interior of our vehicles with. We are a totality of what we consume. And it's important that we understand that consumption. There's chemicals out here today that human beings were never meant to come in contact with once, let alone to be immersed in. So, my dad would always say, you got a big job. You got a big job ahead of you. Have fun quick, because recess is just about over. And so, yeah, I would say we can look around the world and say that recess is over. It's time that, to your point a little bit earlier, as you were discussing divide and conquer, and conflict. And so, we see it, in this country. Everything is, well, defund the police. It's critical race theory. And it's like, no, it's not. Critical race theory is history. Like, we give the society gives these names that make it easy for folks to kind of divide and conquer with. Like, this isn't a theory. This is a historical fact. When you call something a theory, it's like one person thought, well, it's a theory that I just smacked you. Well, no, if you just smacked me, that's not theoretical anymore. So we have to be wiser, bigger, understand that there's folks out here that have a vested interest in humanity not doing well because it's profitable. America doesn't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system because there's more money in treating the sick than it is preventing the sick from becoming sick. And so it's important that we take the time to do our part as individuals. So frequently we just pass it off and say, well, that's someone else's responsibility. And the one thing I really loved, one of the many things I loved and admired about my parents and my family, is that we all were crystal clear that we were part of that role. We had a job to do. We were part of the solution. And the solution requires not just a handful of individuals doing it. It requires all of us to do our part, and all of us could do more. My dad, towards his final week of life, he, was looking for ways that he could do more. And we lost him in 2017. And anyone that would look at any matrix or algorithm can still see Dick Gregory's work, his body of work, doing just as much work now as it was when he was here with us. And it's a beautiful thing. It's heartwarming. It's one of the things that keep me going, but not to look at it in a historical sense, but to look at it as a living kind of roadmap of what all of us can do. And the best way we can start to do more is to take better care of our own mind, bodies, and soul, and start today. Don't wait, don't put it off, start today. And, it is, I said this to you as we started this interview today. You never know how far-reaching something you do or say will be tomorrow. And I joined so many of these conversations because I never know what seed's going to be planted that's really going to spark. Because those of us out here that are fighting for humanity, fighting for the planet, fighting for righteousness, we need help. We need more folks out here, and whatever seeds can be planted to help with that, I'm all for it. And, kudos to you and your platform for the work that you're doing. It's one way we're making the universe smaller and connecting us, but we all go and do our work in our respective spaces.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, how much time did you have left?
I have 10 more minutes here.
Perfect. Okay, so I have it's very like the last important topic I wanted to talk about. Once again, I'm going to read a quote of your father, and I really do think it's important to talk about because it connects to what's going on right now with COVID. So here the quote, it goes, "There's a legend that says thousands of years ago, the plague was supposed to go into Baghdad and kill 5,000 people. The plague went in and 50,000 people died. So they questioned the plague and they said, 'I thought you was going into Baghdad and killed 5,000 people. What happened?' He said, 'I did. I just killed 5,000. The rest died from fright.'" So the question is, how do we become less fearful, especially in this like COVID time? And one thing I always tell my friends is, I try not to bring fear into the house. Obviously, I don't want to bring the disease in either, but I feel like fear is a bigger killer. So do you have any suggestions on how to reduce fear?
So yes, as you pointed out earlier, my dad's quote, and I wouldn't call it a quote, it's really a way of life, that fear and God do not occupy the same space. And it's important when he says that, again, he's not talking about isms and osms. And so many times with God, we get caught up in what people's definition or their experience or their experience that they want to force on you. Fear and God cannot occupy the same space. And so if you are fearful of something, and that's not to say respecting something that's dangerous. You know, I'm not fearful of that dog. I know that dog will bite me. So being a more intelligent being, I'm not going to put myself in a position to get bit. But I'm not going to go home all day long and worry about a dog I may see a week from now and allow it to take over my manifestation. My dad always would tell a story, say there's two men, and on their way of work, one of them picks up dog shit and throws it on the other one and runs and laughs. The one that had dog shit thrown on him is pissed off. So he picks up dog shit, puts it in his pocket, so the next time he sees that man, he can throw it on him.
Yeah.
Well, a month goes by. And so for a month, he's had dog shit in every pocket of every suit that he's worn. His family had to smell dog shit. His friends had to smell dog shit. All of his clothes were ruined from dog shit. And a month later, when he saw the man, he threw it on him. The man brushed it off and just laughed and was like, okay, got me back. Well, for a month, this man was rooted in this hatred, in this, this stink just took over his whole existence. And that's the same thing with fear. So part of what I would say, you have to respect the science. I mean, the virus and the pandemic is real. Tragically, folks are dying. But folks, 40,000 Americans die in automobiles every year. We don't stop driving. We just drive more responsibly. Wash your hands, wear your mask, social distance. As a healthcare provider, these natural hygienic factors, they damn near predate medicine. And so what we've turned it in this country into something that is so politicized that, good sense stopped being common sense a long time ago. So yes, do your best not to bring it around. If you have folks who are high risk in your home or in your world, do your best to protect those folks. And so people say, oh, are you an anti-vaxxer? No, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. There's lots of exemptions, and I've always had a philosophical exemption. When I taught school, I had a philosophical exemption. But someone shouldn't have taken every vaccine in their life. They go and get a flu shot every year, and then suddenly, because of fear of this one, suddenly say, oh, no, I'm not doing that. For me, a potential virus could come, a pandemic could come at some point that I would run to get a vaccine because it was just that, deadly. And so you have to allow us as individuals to do the research, understand what we're doing with, and make an executive decision. Medicine doesn't supersede our ability to make an executive decision. Government doesn't supersede our ability to make an executive decision. I never tell people you should do this, you should do that. You should do whatever it is, it's your body. And so for me, I'm not a blanket anti-vaxxer, never have been. And so it's, half these people out here, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they're eating McDonald's. Well, you've eaten the vaccine for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you have to kind of align and understand why you're making these decisions. And so it's important that we don't allow fear, because this has been a masterful, the last year has been a master class of how fear works. And so we see we see the role media plays. Well, they love fear because, all these things are industries. The sick care industry.
Yeah.
Well, the money that's being made, not for the therapeutics and the vaccines and the hospitalizations. There's people in this country that were told they wouldn't have to pay for their treatment for COVID related, and then they're getting literally over $1 million per person. Many times these bills are ballooning to for not the COVID, but the other supplemental care we gave you. And so the lies run deep. And so you look at the industry, you look at who's profiting. And if me and you are business folks and we've made record returns, well, of course we want there to be booster shots. We don't want this gravy train to end. So we're going to keep the fear keeps eyeballs on the TV. Eyeballs on TV mean advertising dollars, reposting stories. All of social media is just digital billboards to attach advertising to. So the more this is being talked about, ever since my 25 years as a practitioner, I've never told people do this or do that. You give advice, you give information, but ultimately, whatever decision you make, if you were to succumb from it, you have to say, okay, I live by that. That was the informed consent, informed decision, and it won't be forced on me top down using fear. So the takeaway from that should not be Dr. Christian Gregory is an anti-vaxxer. Not at all. Dr. Christian Gregory is respect your body, treat it as a temple, do the research, do the math, and make an executive decision. Most of us spend more time researching an automobile purchase or a home purchase than we do some of the most important decisions that we'll ever make in our life. And so, folks, again, I have an exemption. There's 3 exemptions in America. There's a religious exemption, philosophical exemption, medical exemption. And so yes, I'm exempt. My exemption is not your exemption. You have to make that decision for yourself and really how you live your life. And so this isn't the first vaccine, won't be the last vaccine, and there's bigger fish to fry. The real reason is if this virus on its own was quote unquote deadly, then everyone who got it would die. This virus, it's similar to AIDS. No one ever died from AIDS. Yeah. AIDS reduced your immune system to a capacity that you died from a common cold or regular viral infection or bacterial infection. The reason we're seeing certain people die from this and others not, it really goes down to, pre-existing health. And so we're seeing obesity, diabetes. These are the folks that, so yes, if I was 1,000 pounds and blood sugar was shot to hell, I may consider getting the vaccine. So I'm not going to tell that 1,000-pound diabetic, don't get vaccinated. I'm going to say, talk to your doctor. And you should talk to your doctor a lot more than just about this vaccine. You're 1,000 pounds. And so we just can't have these carve-outs because people die for a multitude of reasons. And to look at it without looking at the totality of sickness and disease and to not look at pre-existing disease is a disservice. And we're witnessing a global disservice on how this is being rolled out and how this is being addressed and how they're making people feel a particular way for the decisions they make. For me, politics, religion, and vaccine are personal things. I don't discuss them for the most part because it's not for everyone else's consumption. It's my philosophical beliefs and how I live my life. And it really kind of begins and ends there.
Yeah. Just to loop back to the beginning, when we, your father's quote, show me my good and show me my bad. I just want to echo more of your father's words.
And I just want to jump in there.
Of course.
You always show my bad, show my good. And so you always show my bad, show my good. We spend too much time as a society highlighting people's bad without highlighting their good. At least be equal. But the most part, the world benefits and grows from collective good energy. Show, as my dad says, show me my good.
Yeah, because one of the things he said about fear is because, obviously, I don't want, there's, no way to remove all fear from your body, but just, I want people to understand that fear, this is your father speaking now, fear is a gift from God. Fear shouldn't last more than 4 minutes. And if it does last longer than 4 minutes, then it's a problem that you have to address. I just
So
wanted to.
now we're getting back to physiology, neuromuscular physiology, neurological physiology. And so, those, again, those 4 minutes, 3 minutes, those are guardrails. And so to help us have a proper understanding. And so there's certain things in the body that are reflexes. No matter how hard you try, if I tap your patella tendon, I'm going to get a knee jerk unless you simply don't have a reflex. But there's no way you can kind of mind over body that. So, if I poke your eye, you're going to blink. And so these are, physiological things that they're important that they happen. So fear is to trigger a reflex. And so if I keep pounding on your knee for, an hour on end, we've moved beyond. Now I'm doing damage. We've moved beyond triggering or eliciting a reflex. Now we're doing damage. So if you harbor fear, then you do significant damage. And so, there's folks that go to bed at night, they're stressing about something that has to happen at work, or they're stressing about something financial. Well, if work's 9 to 5, worry about it to 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, disengage, go about your life, then re-engage at 9 a.m. That sounds, well, that's easy said, hard to do. But the truth of the matter is, we do what we condition and train our body to do. Marathons are hard, but obviously they're doable because plenty of people condition themselves to do it. So these things, we have to take more of a hands-on approach to our lives and to our quality of life. And we have to stop outsourcing that. So many things, it's, well, oh, what should I do about this? So many people, quite honestly, reached out to Dick Gregory, like, tell me what I should do. And we shouldn't do that with anyone. We should gather an intake. And so when people say, well, what would your dad say? My dad, he spoke on all of this. I mean, he spoke on this pandemic. He didn't have to be here for it. He just, in historical, you can go and look at everything. There's not you can look at any religion and you can go back and read in their scripture, say there's nothing new under the sun. So you can read and extrapolate from that. Okay, when people say, oh, well, would Dick Gregory get the vaccine? I said, well, clearly you've never listened to the man. I mean, he spoke on, and that's not to say that you should. My dad had and you may have heard this before, he said he was in New York City, Central Park, and he walked up to a guy. The guy had cocaine dust on his nose, a heroin needle in his arm, and he offered him an apple. And the brother said, Brother Dick, but is it organic? So you didn't ask, was your heroin organic? Was your cocaine organic? But whenever it's something that's good for you, then you say, well, wait a minute, is it this? Well, wait a minute, is that? And so, if we don't want to do something, we can come with, my doctor said I shouldn't exercise that hard. We can come up with a reason to justify it. We must do better. And we're looking right now at a society that really failed. I mean, we failed in, many times pandemics are like fire alarms. Sometimes folks trip and break their leg going down the stairs. We should have done as a society, as a global village, we should have done much better dealing with this pandemic. The reason we didn't was industries that had a financial interest, prolonging the suffering and misery through fear. And there's nothing that's going to compromise your immune system faster than fear. Fear is one of the definitive things that diminishes our immunity. And at a time that we need our immune system to be stronger than ever, there's people who are like locked in their home and cowering in fear, which makes you, an apt pupil, makes you an apt candidate. You're a petri dish waiting for this waiting for this virus to find its way into you as a vessel. So we have to do better. We have to understand fear is there, but we have to not embrace and be consumed with fear.
Agreed. Do you have any more minutes left? Because I'd like one more fun question for you.
Let's go. I always like fun questions.
I don't think you're expecting this, but on one of the Real Black interviews your father had done, he mentions the crystal skulls and how he had 3 of them. Have you ever been around one? Because obviously, like, one of the myths is like the energy when you're in the same room as one of the crystal skulls, you feel some sort of energy.
So I wouldn't be able to, yes, I've been around his crystal skulls. I wouldn't be able to, carve out what was the energy I felt from the skull as opposed to what was the energy I felt from Dick Gregory. My dad had a aura and energy that was very unique. In addition to that, you know, my dad, wherever he was with him, he traveled with multiple bags, and you know, he was constantly crushing, you know, vitamin C capsules, cayenne pepper. There were always things that were airborne when you came. So I don't know what was, you know, my body responding to the things that were, you know, the nutritional omnipresent atmosphere that was always like a good cloud, but like a cloud, like a haze that was always around Dick Gregory, and what was from his crystal skulls. But he always kept that, you know, very private. And so, and I always respected that. And so, and he always made clear that none of these things and artifacts are bigger than the universe, the universal God. And so I've never seen him prioritize his skulls over just sitting and meditating and fasting. So it wasn't something that there was just kind of this mystical energy around and locked away in a safe. So, you know, and if he ever conveyed that, that was not how, you know, you get snippets of sound bites in interviews, and sometimes things get edited down and they come across a way different than what they actually were. But no, it was, so I couldn't tell if the energy was from that. And the other thing is, you know, many things, in order to receive energy, you know, you have to be a receptacle. And a lot of times, if your mind and your spirit is not tuned to that frequency, it's something that misses you. And I've not for once would I say me or any of the Gregory children would ever, you know, proclaim that we, you know, my dad's shoes, you know, we've never tried to fill. We've kept them out there. We've kept them clean so the world can see and learn from them. But we've never attempted to fill his shoes. And so I think that's one of the things that have kept all us Gregory children sane, is that, you know, we never suffered from the, oh, we want to be like daddy. We want to respect and learn and take the seeds that he, you know, hand delivered us, part genetics, but part experience, nature and nurture. And we want to take those seeds to grow and in our own lives, continue the amazing body of work that, and just to say the beat goes on. So, you know, thank you, man. This was a wonderful conversation. Sorry for the snafus we had getting up and running here.
Not a problem.
But this platform worked just fine. I know we're like 2 weeks into trying to connect here. So keep up the good work you're doing with the Sunday League, and keep me posted on what you're doing, and I'll do the same.
Yeah. I know you're going on Sway in the morning in like half an hour. So good luck with that. And I'm probably going to watch it on YouTube when it comes out.
Very good. You know, Sway may be watching right now.
Thank you for your time. You're very
Take
gracious.
good care.
And, yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you so much. Take it easy.
We are hungry, please let us in. We are hungry, please let us in.